kill Amonderez Green? That's the question that is a community near Ferguson, Missouri, demanding answers. On Wednesday, Normandy, Ferguson, and St. Louis County police responded to reports that Green was suicidal and refused to communicate with family members. A crisis intervention team approached him walking in Normandy. That's where they saw the 18-year-old who was carrying a .38 caliber revolver. And according to cops, he started shooting in a gunfight that ended in his death. And Green's parents say their son didn't take his own life.
Apologize for cussing, but that's the only damn son I got.
One more time, it was Ferguson cops?
It was Ferguson.
Shot your son?
I even told Ferguson ass that we had everything under control, and they still followed.
Ferguson shot your son?
It was Ferguson, man. When he started running, Ferguson started shooting, man.
My daddy banged him, and you banged him.
My damn baby.
You got banged him.
I heard him. Hands up. Don't shoot my child. And they shot my damn baby, okay? I'm pissed off right now. I'm absolutely pissed off. Something got to be done with this corrupt ass St. Louis stinking ass police department. I'm more eloquent than this, but right now I am absolutely pissed off. Something has to be done, Worship. Something got to be done.
Man, we riding with you, bro. All the way through. We riding with you all the way through to the end, baby.
They ain't lying if they sit there and said my son shot at their ass first. They a damn lie.
The St. Louis County Police Department issued a press release on Green's death saying, quote, the assessment at the hospital by emergency room personnel indicated the suspect's only wound was the self-inflicted one. It was a contact wound located under the suspect's chin. None of the Normandy officers' rounds struck the suspect.
This is not a deadly force situation involving law enforcement. This is a suicidal subject who was armed with a firearm, shot at law enforcement officers, and then eventually suffered a self-inflicted gunshot wound. I believe that our officers made every effort to open a dialogue with Mr. Green and get him to voluntarily seek the medical help that was clearly necessary at that time.
Joining us on the panel, attorney Scott Bolden with Reed Smith LLP and the Public Eye Communications founder, Joe Jefferson Nuri, and political analyst, Dr. Jason Johnson. Folks, again, this is interesting. I mean, to have this sort of discrepancy from people who were there on the scene, folks who witnessed it, and the police, certainly calls for, I believe, a broader investigation.
Well, there certainly will be a broader investigation. But while we have this conflict, Roland, the reality is that the evidence and the investigation will show definitively what happened to this young man. Witnesses see a lot of different things. If you put 5 witnesses in front of you, they'll tell you they saw 5 different things. Here, you still have an autopsy to be done. You also have the ballistics report to be done. And these calibers of bullets in these guns are very different. And so the police coming out up front with this, they seem to be very confident that this was a suicide.
Do you know what I find most interesting about this is that the report says that the young man turned and started firing at police. Everything we have known about the police for the last 2 years is that if he had turned and shot at the police, police
fired back.
Fired back and would have shot him.
Right.
There is something wrong. There's a couple of missing paragraphs at the beginning of that story.
So here's the piece here. If they say he turned and shot at them, you telling me all those cops can't shoot
him?
And he didn't get hit one by one bullet from the cops?
He did not get hit once. He was able to get away far enough that he shot himself out of their view.
Well, but they may have shot, but the problem is that they may have missed him. I mean,
no.
Come on now.
No,
not that many cops.
This is not the A-team, okay? They just shot somebody. They're not going to just blow up flower pots. Look, the first thing that I notice is how they have a corporal, Tamika Saunders. Nothing against the officer there, but they get the lowest rank, probably the only black person they could actually find.
Because she probably wasn't the spokesman last week.
Because this isn't the chief, this isn't the major, this is a corporal. It's one of the lowest level people that you can find. So what that says to me, above anything else, is that again, in that area, and all of these towns are very small, Ferguson, Normandy, Deming, all these towns are really, really small, that there's still poor communication and a lack of trust between the police departments and local citizens.
And they put forward their only black spokesman.
Yeah, but again, I mean, what jumps out at me, you're right. If the cops say if they say he died in a gunfight, if there was a gunfight, well, then that implies that somebody else also was firing.
Right.
So no cops fired their guns? Are you?
I don't think the report says no cops fired their gun, but this individual certainly had a gun, and secondly, certainly was mentally ill and in crisis. And while the family may not have wanted the police to get involved, the police have a vested interest in protecting the community.
The story
he's got a gun. There's going to be a problem with this no matter what happens.
But also, I think when you look at this, or you look at also the Kojima Powell case as well, again, it shows when you have folks who are mentally ill, how police respond. That was the case that was in Delaware. I'm sorry, it was in Delaware, Connecticut, where the man was in the wheelchair.
Right.
And they said he was suicidal, and they ended up firing shots into him. The guy was paralyzed.
Right.
And it's sort of the same thing. It's like all of a sudden you still go immediately to that.
And in that case, he wasn't a danger to anyone.
Right.
And it's kind of hard to believe that after they have this Wild West shootout, that where he is missed by everyone, all the stormtroopers managed to miss him, and then he decides to then kill himself. Yeah. I find that very questionable, and I don't really trust what the autopsy is going to determine, because we've already seen in various different instances and circumstances that evidence gets tainted.
All right, Joy, final comment.
I was going to say, and he killed himself out of their view. Well, they said that he ran, he turned a corner. When they turned the corner, there he was dead. They heard a pop, and there he was dead. All of these cops could not run him and be right up on him. There's a missing 5 paragraphs here.
All right,
then. Well, a lot out of the police when you do that.
Yeah, and we should. And we should. All right, folks.
You had integrity.
Let's go to
they do film me
Let's go to Florida. The latest in the Corey Jones death investigation, according to documents obtained by Yahoo News. The Florida officer who shot and killed Jones in Palm Beach Gardens was not qualified for his undercover surveillance assignment. You'll recall, 31-year-old Jones was waiting for a tow truck on the side of the road around 3 a.m. October 18th when he was shot multiple times by Officer Numan Raja. Today, Jones's family and friends will commemorate his life with a wake at Payne Chapel AME Church in West Palm Beach, Florida. His funeral will be held tomorrow. Now, here's what jumps out at me that's still stunning here. When you look at this particular case, here he is, church musician, legally licensed to carry a gun. And again, the officer, unmarked van, didn't have a uniform, didn't have a badge, did not have a radio, but then all of a sudden this guy ends up dead. Joining us on the phone is attorney Benjamin Crump, who is representing the Corey Jones family. Attorney Crump, so to see these documents where this police officer was not supposed to be working undercover, but apparently that's what he was working, some burglary detail, is it alarming to you?
It's very alarming, Roland, and it follows the pattern of things that are just highly questionable about this case. Even the fact that he was there approaching the vehicle, that was not his assignment.
So, now as we are seeing more of these details come out, I'm still trying to understand again how he can drive up the side of the freeway in the opposite direction, and then Jones ends up dead, and Jones never fired his gun one time.
And it doesn't make sense, Roland. When we met with the state attorney, we did not have the benefit of that photograph of how he rolled up on Corey Jones at 3 a.m. in the morning in this unmarked van and gets out, and even by his own version, his first words are, "I'm a police officer, it's what's going on." And so nothing suggests that he's a police officer. We believe Corey went to his grave never really knowing who this person was. And aside from that, why didn't he call for a marked unit? Why didn't he call for backup? Why didn't he park behind the vehicle if he really thought it was an unoccupied vehicle and he wanted to check it out? So, you know, the fact that Corey's dead, his family just refuses to accept that the man they knew would have attacked the police officer.
Mm-hmm.
What is, obviously the funeral will take place tomorrow. What is the next step in this investigation, Ben?
Well, you know, he was on the phone with the tow truck company, and so it is believed that the tow truck phone call recorded the first interaction between, or in fact, the entire interaction between this plainclothes officer and Corey Jones leading to his death. So we have to fight to get that recording. We're going to file a public records lawsuit so they can be forced to release the audio recording of it. We still don't know if there's any video that is anywhere to be found, but at least we strongly believe there's audio. Nobody has told us that it was not recorded. So maybe we can hear what actually was said in this fatal encounter.
All right, Ben Crump, we really appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Also, folks, the young girl in South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, who was thrown out of her desk and dragged, the police officer, her attorneys have started a GoFundMe page to raise funds for her medical costs and legal costs. Shelley, please go to my iPad. What you see here, they already raised, the goal was $25,000. They've raised $28,420. Folks can still donate. That money was raised in 15 hours. Her attorney is Todd Rutherford, who's a state representative there in South Carolina. He said yesterday that she suffered a broken arm in this. Also, she suffered injuries to her ribs as well. And now, Sean, initially there was a report that yesterday that this young lady was in foster care. She recently lost her mother. Actually, that's untrue. She is in foster care, but her mother did not pass away. That was corrected yesterday by Todd Rutherford as well. One of the issues, Scott, is that based upon state law, they're unsure if she can even sue the school district.
Well, many jurisdictions have limitations or caps on what you can sue and under what circumstances. Here, you probably have a carve-out or exceptions. I'd sue anyway because it doesn't matter what this child was doing. I don't care if she cursed the police officer out, spit on him, or even touched him. She was 100 pounds. And that overreaction by that police officer and the mental impact on that child, but the other children. You know, Roland, one of the things that I've noticed from the video is that the children nor the teacher even looked up from their computers,
Exactly.
which lends itself to an investigation as to this officer's prior conduct and the school district's tolerance of this type of conduct. They didn't even look up. No one came to her aid. That is unbelievable.
Again, she had a broken arm, suffered injuries to her rib, back, neck, as well as shoulders.
Absolutely.
Of course that happened.
So the lawsuit may not necessarily be just the what we call intentional torts, assault, battery by this police officer. It may be broader, quite frankly, that gets you out of that cap or that limitation in bringing a lawsuit. It may be against the school district as well as the school for tolerating this behavior.
I have said on this show, and I've said in other places, that the issue here is that the police cannot be spoken back to. They are the ultimate authority. And at the point where you challenge that ultimate authority, they roll into a rage. Because there's no way some child sitting in a chair, in a desk, not even on a full desk, that desk chair, could enrage you enough to drag her out of that chair. She questioned his ultimate authority.
We've seen it over and over again.
She embarrassed him. That's the same thing we had in Texas, right? The guy fell over when he was running around trying to play Globo Cop, and a little girl laughed at him, and he was like, I'm not going to have anybody laugh at me, and certainly not a little black girl. But there's two things about this that are key. I actually had a conversation yesterday with a guy named Kenneth Trump, no relation. He is the president of the School Resource Officers Association. I did an interview with him yesterday, and he said, look, there's like 100 different ways that's supposed to be de-escalated. You could have had everybody else leave the classroom. You can sit down by the student. So it's bad procedure. It's poor procedure. And as someone who's a faculty member, I've called the cops on students before. Okay, so I'm not pretending that the classroom environment is always safe, but I'll tell you this, for all the different reasons that we say kids shouldn't have cell phones, if there hadn't been a cell phone there, this would be his word versus her word.
Let me go to Shelley again. Go to my iPad, please. Let me go to Oklahoma City, where this case officer here, this Master Sergeant Thomas Jaha, punched a 16-year-old student in the face at this high school after the teen did not show a hall pass. Okay, this is video. This is surveillance video was taken of the encounter. But again, same thing. Here's a case where again the kid doesn't show a hall pass, and the school resource officer punches the kid in the face for not showing a hall pass.
When is it that adults don't understand they're dealing with teenagers, or police don't understand they're dealing with a mentally ill person, and have the training to de-escalate. When are we going to get there in the discussion?
But this is the thing. This is what the problem is. This is why Tamir Rice is gone. This is why so many young men and women, because the officers who you have in these schools, look, the way police deal with each other is the way the Catholic Church used to deal with pedophiles. They get a bad cop and they're like, all right, we're not going to fire him. We're not going to fire her. We're going to put them in a public school so they can flirt with 16-year-olds.
Right.
That's how you get some of these people. So the normal resource officers, who are cops who come in there and do the say no to drugs and the DARE programs and everything else like that, they're getting moved out so these idiot cops can go there and hide from the fact that they can't be street cops.
It's so true. And then when you compare that to the response of the D.C. police officer, I know we're going to talk about this,
at
where
the end of the show.
Right, you do that comparative, you see how to de-escalate a situation.
Well, but again, I think what people have to understand is, and this is where I think people get a little confused in terms of, and so there were some people who said you can't immediately jump to race. The point, especially when you deal with a lot of these police officers, the point is not you're jumping to race. You're dealing with, the only color that you're dealing with is blue. And so in the case here, this officer here who was involved in this case, again, this is what he looks like. He's an African American. And so it's not like all of a sudden, oh, white cop, black kid. No, this is blue. This is how officers are responding. And the thing is, this guy here is a school resource officer.
What is that, by the way?
He is not there to, he is not there, I mean, it's a hall pass.
Right.
When you deal, to me, if cops are in school, I need you dealing with guns, knives. I need you dealing with bodily harm, folks trespassing on campus. How are cops now the hall pass monitor?
Well, watch this, though. It gets worse, because when you put the police in the hall and in the school, what is the line of demarcation? Who's running the school? The resource officer of enforcement,
or
the principal?
Real quick.
Principal.
That's why that teacher was happy to see it done, because that teacher was like, go ahead, take her. That's why you saw no response from anybody in that class.
You know what? I never had a teacher call the police. We just knew to sit the hell down.
Well, but here's
place.
the deal, though. But also because you didn't have cops that were in the school.
No, there were no cops. The teacher had to deal with it.
There you go. Folks,